Yep.
We're oh my God, we're on time.
We are on time. Say it isn't so, as they say. I guess I'll do it since I hit the button. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Weekly Roundtable. I'm your co-host, Frank Johnson, host of The Range Report and co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation. Above me and to my left is Michael Marshall, co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation, constitutional scholar. And as with us always is Michael Vasquez, dragon of the Southern Tier, now residing in the Bronx, New York, wreaking all kinds of havoc with the media as it stands, as he's New York's only true, independent, tell it like it is, no BS journalist. Thank you for joining us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be an action-packed, fun-filled show with all kinds of goodies and recipes and, I don't know, some other weird stuff. We didn't really have time to go over show notes. So you're just going to...
We never do show notes.
Yeah, no, we never do.
No.
You'll just have to deal... Yeah, that's the one thing about it. This is a zero prep show.
Pretty much.
But
yeah.
I do have something we've got to start off with.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we've got to start off with this. So here it comes.
Oh.
So yeah, Biden claims that his uncle was eaten by cannibals during World War II.
You know, this is about the 7th or 8th time that he's told this story, and there's been absolutely no foundation behind it. There's no fact. There's no. Now he says, "Well, when I went there and talked about it, they found the wreckage of the plane." So 60 years after World War II is over and done with, he shows up and they happen to find the plane that his uncle piloted. Now his uncle was not a pilot. His uncle was a spotter, from what we understand. There's no evidence that the plane was shot down at all. Nobody was recovered, so there's no evidence of anything. But here's we are, Karine Jean-Pierre, whatever her name is,
it was a reconnaissance flight.
Yes, a sideshow Bobette over there over in the White House says, "Well, we shouldn't be joking about this." Well, why are you lying about it? If something is going to come up that you're so sensitive about that people are going to make fun of, why are you presenting an uncorroborated, fictitious story and then complaining that somebody's going to try and pick it apart? Maybe don't come out with lies and people won't catch you in it.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, the history of Joe Biden has been one of dubious connection to truth. He's been caught plagiarizing. He's been caught making up stories, making up individuals, making up events in history. I don't know if he knows how to stop just fabricating the truth.
Okay, he fabricates pretty much any of his anecdotes are fabricated.
Well, he grew up in the Puerto Rican church. He grew up in the black church. He grew up in the Ukrainian church, in the Greek church. He grew up in all that stuff.
Jewish.
And he grew up in the synagogue, and he grew up with Islam in what he describes as a Irish Italian neighborhood that was strictly Irish and Italian, but had an extremely eclectic mix of other races and denominations.
That didn't exist in that neighborhood in the time, according to census, didn't exist at that time in his state.
Right.
Okay.
He tries to portray himself as a chameleon. He's a shapeshifter.
He wants to be Hillary.
Anything that you want him to be, he'll try and fit that mold. The only problem is he's not a chameleon. He's just a regular, everyday lizard that doesn't know how to change colors. If he was a real chameleon, he wouldn't get caught in as many lies as he does.
See, he needs more lessons from Hillary. He needs to carry around a bottle of Tabasco sauce, and he needs to change his accent depending on who he's talking to. Now, mind you, it doesn't have to be a good accent. It's like an American trying to be British. It doesn't work, but it doesn't matter. He just needs to pretend and have his bottle of Tabasco sauce so people know that he's empathetic, even though he has absolutely no empathy whatsoever.
Maybe it's the purse, the fact that he doesn't carry a purse.
Could be that too.
He has nowhere to keep his hot sauce.
I would not be surprised.
Now, the cannibal angle. You have no evidence of what happened to the aircraft. The aircraft that he was on has never been located, never been found. And even if they did, it would be extremely hard to tell after 60, 70 years how the aircraft was taken down. How do you make the jump from the plane got shot down over Papua New Guinea? Is that what he said that they got shot down?
Yeah, it's over New Guinea.
Right, get shot down over New Guinea. How do you make the jump to say you got eaten, but you have no evidence of anything, and all of a sudden he's eaten by cannibals? But then again,
Biden likes to fabricate.
Well, then again, Bo died in Vietnam. He would. Joe was at the crossing of the Potomac and gave George the silver dollar to throw across the river.
And he was there during signing of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence,
and he made it across. He made it across the bridge. Because we've come too far.
And he rode trains across the Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah. He was fixing potholes.
He built the Scott Key Bridge. He built it.
Well, he was
2 hands.
Well, he was Francis Scott Key's godfather. It was only necessary, that when the rocket's red glare went off, it was him. He scribed the letters down for Francis Scott Key.
And he was with Lewis and Clark when they explored the Pacific Northwest.
Well, I mean, he was the one who found out where the Endeavor was after it sank in the Antarctic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he told Lewiston exactly where in the journal to put the X for the Marxist spot. There's never been a politician who has proliferated so many lies, one right after another, and I do not believe there's ever been a time in American politics, outside of possibly Barry Obama, where the media has been so complicit in not only covering up the lies, but trying to verify them as true after the fact.
And then they kick out Santos out of Congress for the same thing.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, shouldn't we also be looking at Ilhan Omar's 21-year-old daughter?
Well, I was going to get to that when we were talking about University of Chicago and, of course, Columbia University. This is tied to what the pro-Hamas protest. This is tied to the Iran attacking Israel. This is tied to the Americans held hostage in Gaza at this moment, being tortured and sexually abused. If they aren't part of the 40 that are dead, Ilhan Omar's daughter yesterday got arrested along with about 100 other students because they broke the rules, not only of New York City, New York State, but also of Columbia University, because they were intimidating other students. Am I shocked that Ilhan Omar's kid, learning from her parent, was out there trying to intimidate other people to believe what she believes, whether they want to or not? No, I am not surprised at all, because they want to support Hamas.
Well, there's another angle to it that Ilhan's going to have to own up to. She's a proud Islamist, right? She sympathizes with Hamas and Al Qaeda and all the rest of these ones, and she's a by the book Muslim. who celebrated her 20th anniversary but has a 21-year-old daughter. She might have a little trouble explaining that one to her local imam, because as far as I know, having children out of wedlock is extremely frowned upon in that culture.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But then again, she's also married to her brother, and nobody seems to give a shit about that. So
Yeah,
there are lots of rules there, but I'm more concerned about Columbia University is doing exactly what Harvard, what Cornell University, Binghamton University, they're all under that same logic, under that same ideology that we have to support. They want to convince everyone, or at least make everyone bow down and be silent about supporting terrorists because they're small, and therefore that means they must be good. Somehow, in their, I don't know what they're teaching at these colleges, but having a small group of very evil people equals being the good guy. I mean, this is what they constantly say. Oh, Israel is bigger and stronger than Hamas. Israel didn't kill innocent civilians, torture innocent civilians, have held hostage innocent civilians. They didn't start the war. The fact that Hamas is too stupid to have recognized or didn't care about their own people enough to not say, we can't win this war, don't start a war. No, they said, let's go out there and kill a bunch of civilians and start a war. And somehow at Columbia University, they're teaching, like at Harvard, like at MIT, they are teaching these students that, hey, terrorism is a good thing as long as you have less people than the other guy, as long as this is something that's approved by the administration of the college, then it's okay. My God, what kind of generation are we raising? It terrifies me. It boggles my mind that we are seeing this. I'm not surprised who's involved. I'm surprised that it is allowed to exist on our campuses. Not that they can't protest. Fantastic. Protest away. But they want to compare themselves to apartheid, the protests against apartheid. Guess what? I'm old enough. We're all old enough. I saw the protests. I was in college when they were doing the protests against apartheid. Not the same thing. Not even close, not by 1,000-yard miles. Or you get my analogy there. They're nowhere near each other. You know why? Because Hamas are terrorists. They are a nation of terrorists. That's the leadership. That's the fact. And they went out and killed civilians and then have hostages. Our people right now, which is the number one thing, nobody who's pro-Hamas wants to mention that there are Americans who are held hostage right now that were taken by Hamas, have been tortured by Hamas, that for 6 months they will not release. They could end this war tomorrow, release the hostages, the British hostages, the French, German, the American, the Israeli hostages. They release them tomorrow, the war ends. It's that simple. They won't do it. You have to wonder why.
Well, it's gotta. Are people really that afraid of the optics at this point?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. They're afraid of being called a racist. They're afraid of being called an ist and a phobe. They fear that more than actual acts of evil that they are witnessing in front of them.
Okay. Unrelated note, we've got a couple things here. So there's this guest on MSNBC, a comedian, Dulce Sloan, who made an appearance on NBC to discuss politics. Okay, and she started talking about Beyonce's New Country song and how it's upsetting some people and so forth. And she basically made the claim that every form of music except for classical was stolen from black people.
That's stupid.
That's her claim.
It's stupid. She can make the claim. It's just factually incorrect and stupid.
Okay.
There's no two ways about
and
it.
We're going to double down this week. So, Melina Abdullah, who is an esteemed scholar, activist, and leader in the Black Lives Movement, and has dedicated her life to challenging systemic oppression.
Oh, God.
Says that the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory and Taylor Swift fandom are examples of white supremacy.
Wait a minute. So one football team was better than another football team, both teams having many, many, many black players on them. And one of those two teams with black players, multi-millionaire black players with college degrees, was racist.
Yeah.
So the black football players are racist.
Yeah.
Okay.
The young leader, Chiefs Super Bowl win symbolizes white supremacy.
So the black running backs and quarterbacks, the black players on the Chiefs are racists because they won. They are black multimillionaire college degree graduate racists because they won.
Yeah, the Super Bowl result was a right-wing white supremacist conspiracy. She said, feeling uncomfortable with too many American flags or being a Taylor Swift fan stems from similar feelings.
Wait a minute, we're in America. What flags are we supposed to be flying?
Why do I feel it's slightly racist to be a Taylor Swift fan? Abdullah wrote on X.
Because she's a racist.
Kind of like that feeling I get when there are too many American flags.
What country does she think? This isn't France. It's not Palestine. It's not Iran. We fly an American flag because we're in America. If we were in some other country, then I'd say, oh, if unless you happen to be in Hong Kong where they want to fly the American flag rather than the Chinese communist flag. But other than Hong Kong, okay, if we're in another country, maybe you have an argument, but it's America. Does she know that? Did her degree, her schooling include geography? Has she ever looked at a map? Sorry, I hate stupid.
Well, this woman also believes virtually everything is racist.
Because she is racist. Because she doesn't want to look in a mirror. If she looked in a mirror, she would see racist.
Well, she doesn't want to look in the mirror because if I had to lay money on it, I would say that there's a little cream in her coffee. And that's something she doesn't want to own up to.
I don't, probably, but everyone, you're an American. If you're not like first generation here, your history is mixed with somebody from somewhere for some reason. Some of them good, some of them bad. It's stupid. She is stupid. I don't care how many pieces of paper she has that say, hey, I spent $250,000 at this place. Fantastic. You know how to waste money really, really well. And this is her attempt to recoup all of that money. I'm sorry, I'm not that dumb. She is blatantly racist. Why won't people call her that?
Well, because they'll be afraid of the label they get labeled with.
She's already given them the label. If you're watching football and you see an American flag and you're not disgusted, well, then you must be, something's wrong with you. You're a racist because you're not disgusted by the American flag, the flag of your nation, the nation that you support, that you want to do well, the nation that you want to improve. Theoretically, isn't she trying to improve America, or is she trying to, and that should be the question, are you trying to improve America, or are you trying to destroy it and replace it with something else? Please tell me, what is that something else? finish the thought. It's not enough to say, oh, this is racist. Then what do you propose is better? Oh, the American flag is racist. Then what are you proposing in its place? Please explain that so that we understand exactly what you are trying to do, because this is evil. Sorry. And these things get me going. You guys know this. You know this is going to get me going.
Well, there's a reason why there's
That's
so
why we
many
do it, Mike.
There's a reason why there's so many buttons on my desk. It's because we like to be able to push them on you.
We do this intentionally for you, Mike.
And you want to know what's really sad? You want to know the thing that bothers me is that, Vass, if you weren't here with Michael and myself, these are conversations that we wouldn't be able to have.
Right, no, exactly. You would.
We
would, and you should.
Listen, Michael and I don't give a flying shit.
I know you don't.
I don't care what people call me. I don't care what people think about me. People say whatever they want to say about me. I don't care. I don't care. There's the slings and arrows. Do your worst. I don't care. Nobody's opinion of me is ever going to make me feel any better or less than of myself than I already do, or that the people that I care about feel about me. It's not going to bother me. All right. So I don't give a shit about having these conversations. Marshall doesn't care about having these conversations. Same thing. He's fearless. He's been through hell and back. You don't give a flying shit what anybody calls him.
Of course.
But the fact of the matter is, we would never be able to get any traction as two white guys standing here talking about, racism that comes across from other parties. But the fact that you're here gives us the key to be able to do that. See, that's what's messed up. And that's what's messed up is that you shouldn't have to be here in order to validate the arguments, because they would say, well, if you're not a woman, you don't have any opinion about a woman's body. If you're not black, you shouldn't have any opinion about black society. If you're not Spanish, you shouldn't have an opinion about this. We can have opinions all we want.
If you're not female, you shouldn't have an opinion on abortion.
Right. Yeah. Right. There are so many exclusionary tactics that the left uses to avoid conversations that they don't want to have, because they get caught in the lie time and time again, that that's the only tactic they have, is to be exclusionary. And too many people are falling for this. I don't want to be this. I don't want to get called that. Grow a set, people. Grow a set. This is a hard life that we all live, and everything that you avoid, that you put on the back burner, is just luggage you carry in with you for no reason. If you can't have the hard conversations, you have no right to have the easy ones.
Let's remind and it's not for our audience, but for people who are new, people who might just click on this for a second. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean they're evil, doesn't mean they're a racist, doesn't mean they're an ist.
Doesn't even mean that you have to hate them.
No, it doesn't mean hate. It means that they have a different opinion. If they are able to factually, empirically back up what they are saying, that doesn't mean that they're an evil 1930s German. No, it means that they have a reason for their conclusions. They have logically thought this through. Your feelings do not convey fact or change the truth of the universe, period. One of the biggest lies that we have seen is somehow we now confer feelings as if they are fact, or that they somehow change the reality that exists. They do not. You have your feeling. No one else is obligated to have your feeling, and your feeling does not change anything in the universe.
Well, that's this bullshit you hear all the time. You have to speak your truth.
That's a lie.
Your truth. There's the truth. There's the fact. There's not your truth and somebody else's truth. Now, there may be different points of view about that same truth. There may be different angles from which witnesses see things, different experiences people have when it comes to that truth, but that truth doesn't change. Your opinion on it might change, but there's only one fact on everything.
Yeah.
And there's no, if you can't, no, that's not true. That's not my truth. Well, all right. Well, your truth is these people who seem to think that allowing their kid to think that they're a cat. Well, my kid is just acting out his truth. No, your kid's it's a child. It's a human child. It's not a friggin' cat. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So I put up on the screen this meme or thing.
Meme.
There's no such thing as your truth. You can have your opinion. You can have your feelings. But the truth has nothing to do with you, your feelings, or your opinions. The inability to grasp this this concept is why so many continue to fall for every psyop. The truth is truth.
No, it's not just that people are falling for this. They have been indoctrinated to believe that has credibility, that your feelings are equal to or another category alongside empirical, mathematical, semantical truth. They have been ingrained in them. This has been nurtured. This is how we get the separate spaces, the safe spaces. We get the critical race theory, DEI, equity. We get all of that from this idea that a feeling is both universal and absolute and has some material impact. And none of that is real. That's just a great way of doing politicking. I got to give it to the progressives. Whoever thought this up and said, no, we just got to teach these kids to think that their feelings are more important or equal to the truth, that we have to share that their feelings are superior to anyone else's feeling, and that everyone has to feel the exact same thing at the exact same time. Whoever sold that bill of goods and said, we can do this, they were a genius. This is the whole reason why AOC is elected. This is the whole reason why we have the squad and the progressive movement having growth and having any traction in our colleges. This is why we are seeing kids who are saying, yes, I'm going to support the terrorists. You should support the terrorists too. No, don't worry about Americans being killed. Don't worry about them declaring themselves our enemies and wanting to kill everyone, regardless of their political ideology, because we happen to be American and don't believe exactly what they believe. No, they throw that out the window. This is insane, people. Stop. When someone says it's my truth, you know what my truth is? I punch you in the face. And your truth can be my punch won't hurt you. Guess what? The truth is, yes, it will. And that's the difference. That's the reality. We need to get back to reality. You may not like
somebody else that's having a problem with reality.
Yeah. You don't like it. Who cares?
Leah Thomas is considering retirement because they took away her medals. And she doesn't have the soul to fight anymore for justice.
She never had justice on her side. She had feelings. Whatever. For lack of argument there's three, you know what? English language. He, she, it. Okay. And I know there are people who are they, them, whatever. And individually, I know many people and I call them by their name and go on with it. But we're talking generic, and the English language has it separated. There are he, there's she, there's it, period. Stop, full stop. That's correct, proper grammar. Deal with it. You don't like it, I don't care. So it has said that, oh, this is justice. Justice with, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with justice. Leah Thomas unjustly was competing against individuals who genetically were inferior. That is a fact. Women don't like it. It's the fact, is inferior in terms of musculature, bone density, in terms of ligaments. They are genetically at a disadvantage. That is a fact. That's
a second. The WHO would disagree with that.
With what? Genetics?
Yeah, they
You
say
can't.
that they have studies that say that that's not true.
No, it is true. It is a fundamental fact that genetically men are denser muscles, stronger bones, stronger ligaments. We are built to be hunter killers. That is the purpose of men. That is our genetic makeup. That is our advantage in the physical. That's why we're on average 6 inches taller than women, why we on average weigh 50 to 75 pounds more than the average woman. Pound for pound, man versus woman at the same age, at the same level of physical exercise, men are stronger. Period. It is a genetic fact. It is indisputable. They may not like it. I don't care about what they like. Again, that's feelings. They feel like it should be different. Too bad. Nature has said this is the reality. This is the fact of the situation. You don't get to change that. Now, is it wrong to, if Leah Thomas is walking down the street, does that mean something? Anyone should treat Leah Thomas other than as a human being? Absolutely not. Leah Thomas deserves to live their life. And as long as they have not harmed anyone, live their life, have a great time, do whatever you're going to do. I don't care. But that doesn't mean that Leah Thomas gets a benefit just because they made a choice that no one else has to recognize or accept because it's called life. Oh, yeah, this thing you got up there. What's the difference between women in sports and men in sports? Men's sports make money.
Okay. The NBA makes roughly $10 billion a year.
Conservatively.
The WNBA loses $10 million a year.
Conservatively. No one watches the
WNBA is subsidized in order to stay in existence by the NBA.
Yes. And that's funny because
people are bringing this up, trying to say that this is sexism and sexist, and this proves the disparity between, or the wealth gap between men and women, and so forth and so on. And
wait. We have to ask a question in this before we go any further. So why is it that all those progressives who think it's unfair, where's their season tickets to the WNBA?
That's exactly
where is all their,
what I was going to say.
Yeah, where's the merch?
Why haven't they bought a season pass on whatever streaming service to get all the WNBA games?
No, in the stadium. Forget the season pass. Go into buy this. Matter of fact, what they should be doing, if they truly believe that they need to help, go and spend money on a season ticket in a stadium. Whether you sit in that chair or not, doesn't matter. Buy it. Go and buy a season pass specifically for those women's games, whether you watch it or not. Go and buy a t-shirt of all the top players of every single team, whether you like them or not, whether you like the sport or not. Buy all of their merch and then tell me that it's unfair. Yeah. Their answer, they don't. I don't even need to. It's as simple as the sales aren't there. No one watches it on TV or any of the streaming services. No one shows up at the games. No one buys the merch. Therefore, it is not a profitable game. No one cares about the WNBA. Period.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and this is another one of those things where people are trying to use feelings to trump facts.
Yeah, they're just not. No one cares about the WNBA. It's
okay,
not that the women are bad.
Let's, for instance, hit this for just a little bit. If the WNBA did pay that same price, the WNBA would be out of existence in less than a year.
Well, so the NBA is paying for them. You'd bankrupt both of those industries.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough money to support them both. There's not enough money. The women don't bring in money. It's like women's soccer. No one cares. I know there's a lot for the fans that are out there. Yeah, you know, all 5 of you, fantastic. You love it. There's no one else. Not in the United States, not in any country in the world. It doesn't dominate. No one cares. The numbers aren't comparable. Why do women get paid less? No one's there. No one buys the merch. No one cares. Now, I'm not saying you can't have your games. Fantastic. But don't expect that just because you showed up, you deserve the same money as some of the most popular sports and most popular stars in the world. You're just not. That's like me saying that I need to get a Grammy and I need to get a $10 million singing contract. I can't sing. It is a fact. I do not sing. I have a horrible singing voice. I do not inflict that on me or anyone else. I don't deserve a Grammy. I don't deserve a $10 million, $20 million, $100 million contract. I don't deserve to be on stage with Beyonce. I don't. But what they're saying is it's evil and somehow unjust unless I am on stage with Beyonce. And if you tell me, oh, Mike, but you can't, well, then you're just a racist. You're a sexist. You're being an ist and a phobe. Oh, it doesn't work that way. How not? We can make that argument about everything. You know what, Frank, you should be, we don't need Tom Cruise. We need you to be out there running down the road, doing Mission Impossible jumps.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't know. We need, what's another sport or entertainment that you could do? Doesn't matter what it is. You need to be the star of it. You need to star in a CBS, in some TV show, and you're going to be the headliner. Doesn't matter that you've never acted a day in your life. You're going to be there and no one can say no. It's stupid.
It is.
What is this?
Yeah, there's my sport.
What?
Well, this
the
is
Hobby Horse Championship.
This is the world championship in hobby horses. This is in Finland. You have competitors from around the world.
They should get paid billions of dollars, don't you think?
When this sport here becomes as popular,
were they just jumping over?
Okay, I want you to watch.
What? What?
Listen, they prance, they jump, they do the like the little ritualistic trot that the lip is on our stallions do. Yes, this is
maybe I would.
Oh, that one's out of control. That one's out of control. Oh my God! Somebody get a wrangler in there.
You know what? You know what this needs? A little sexism. Maybe if they were in bikinis doing this, I'd be like, I'd watch that. Seriously, if they were in bikinis and 2/3 of these women who are doing this weren't the ones doing this, maybe the Swedish football.
What was it? The women's football, the XFL. What was it?
Lingerie. The lingerie league.
Lingerie football league. Now, I'm going to say one thing about. All right, listen. I don't give a damn about sports. I honestly don't. I watch combat sports. I watch fights. I watch UFC. I like people punching people in the face. All right. I've been punched in the face a lot myself. I like punching people in the face. It's fun. It alleviates stress, and plus it also keeps you in check. Know your limitations. I like combat sports. I don't care about baseball. I don't care about football. I don't care about nothing. You will never walk into the house here and find me sitting there watching a game. All right. We went to a Super Bowl party. You're not even allowed to use the term Super Bowl. You have to hyphenate it. We would have like 20 minutes. I went there to try and test everybody else's buffalo chicken dip to see if it was rates near to mine. But I did watch one of them lingerie football games one day because somebody said to me, "You got to see how hard these chicks hit one another." And I was like, "Nah."
Oh, they're brutal.
Yeah. And I flipped on that game and I was like, "Holy crap! They women
are brutal. And they have less pads than men do. Right. And they hit harder.
And they're not one of them is frail. Not one of those players is frail. We're not talking about bikini models. We are talking about women that are 200 pounds of packed on dense muscle, fitness competitors that are football players. And these women are running 25 miles an hour and headlong whamming into one another like a brick wall. I don't see men football players hitting each other like that. If you want to pay women sports for what they're worth, pay those girls something, because those girls are bringing it. They are bringing every ounce of power and athleticism and skill. And I'm watching some of these quarterbacks. Some of them quarterbacks, they are throwing spirals, 50 yards down the line with pinpoint accuracy. A lot of the kickers are unbelievable.
Yeah, but
the fact that they're scantily dressed, you forget that after a couple of seconds.
No, Frank. That's the thing. They never forget that part. They are feminine, and that is a crime. It is a crime in America, and we are exporting this around the world for women to be feminine. That is a new crime.
Well, I'm saying as a viewer, all right, I might turn the game on because I want to see some chick with a great body running up and down the road, in an outfit like this. All right. Yeah. And some of these women are absolutely beautiful. All right. I might tune in for that. But when I see how the sound, when I see the
sound, Mike,
gameplay, when I see the quality of the gameplay, some of the hits these women are taking, these women are earning every dollar they make on that field.
Yes, but they are women and they are feminine, and that is the problem. The problem is not that they're playing the game, not that they're qualified, not that they're athletes in their own right. They are women and they look feminine, and that is a crime today. Look at what they are doing to video games. What is it? It's Star Wars Outlaws. They want you to think, no, this is just, it's someone who looks just like Sigourney Weaver. First of all, it doesn't. The character in Star Wars Outlaws doesn't look like Sigourney Weaver, looks like a man. 2, and more importantly, the woman that this is designed after looks nothing like Sigourney Weaver, which tells you how much they had to disfigure this woman's image to get the character they came up with, because she was too pretty and too feminine, and women cannot be feminine or pretty because that is a crime today. Look, they're doing it to Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. They're doing it to movies. We're looking at all of the sports. They want women to not be women. They want women to be men. They are destroying femininity, and it is evil. And it is part of the reason why our society is falling apart, because nobody knows who they are. They're always this ever-changing thing.
They want a unisex reality.
They want a unimind reality. And if everyone is the same physically, then you're more likely to think the same, and that's more control.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really it.
Well, all I know is them chicks who play that football game, if they need a spare tackle and dummy.
Hey, wait a minute.
I'll make myself available for about a half hour, because I don't think I can take any more abuse than that.
Okay, Dow, 1. Your wife is Very much strong, feminine, pretty. I met her. Absolutely good choice. She's fantastic. 2, did you go to the hospital again now? I'm looking at the comments here. Something about your blood pressure. You know, you're not allowed to miss any of the broadcasts. You got to be here for the live streams. So stop getting sick. Stop getting sick so you don't need to go to hospitals so you can't miss our live streams.
Well, what do you have to do? Listen, you have to plan ahead for these things. I have every single one of my medical facilities Wi-Fi access pre-programmed into my telephone so that if I should happen to wind up on a gurney someplace, I don't have to worry about signing in. I already have immediate access. Comes with my gold coverage.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just don't understand. I'm so upset at what we are doing to kids. We are destroying their view of themselves. No wonder kids are so confused. You know, there's a study out that says that there's 30% of kids today think they're LGBTQA, the whole alphabet. Now, it's not that it's bad to be gay or whatever you want to be. Fantastic. That's on you. The fact that the number increased from about 8% to 30% in about 5 years. That's a fad. That isn't a reality. That's a fad. It's being pushed onto these kids because they're being told to be straight, to be them is evil and bad. This will have a backlash, and we're seeing it in part in the fact that our population is decreasing. We're not having babies anymore. We're not sustainable anymore. Same thing in Tokyo, same thing in Japan, in the United Kingdom. Hell, in most of the first world nations, we're seeing this. Why? Because they have injected this ludicrous idea of what is masculine and feminine, and they've inverted them so much.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think the same percentages are in Ethiopia? Or Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Egypt, Cameroon, Sierra Leone. What do you think the transgender percentage among teenagers are in some of those countries?
The historical global average, 0.05% of the population. It's 0.05% of the population, like everywhere in the world up until 5 years ago.
Yeah, I love Burundi. Because it's manufactured.
Yeah, it's a fad.
If it was natural or cultural, it would be the exact same statistic across the board. But because this is manufactured, it's group psychosis that's causing a lot of this stuff. It's trendy. It's a fad. It's this, it's that. It's all like Jan pointed out earlier, there's a school in Utah where the kids all went on strike because there's a group of furries.
Yeah.
That the school is catering to. And the furry kids are attacking the regular kids. They're biting, scratching, barking, attacking, all the rest of the stuff. And instead of the school coming out and saying, oh, you're a furry? All right, guess what? Here's a closet with a kitty with a pan and it goes shit in there. You know, you're not allowed to use the human bathroom. No, and calling them on it, they're catering to it. Now all the regular students are doing walkouts, because the schools are not doing anything to protect the regular students from this insanity. And all of this, 30% of kids are trans. I lived in a very densely populated area of Brooklyn going up. Okay. Very densely populated area. We had one guy in the neighborhood who lived a half a block up from me. Name was Gary. That was what he went by when he was dressed as a man. All right. I don't know what he went when he was dressed up as a woman 4 nights out of the week. And you see this ridiculous scene walking up my street to go up to catch the bus on Fort Hamilton Parkway to take him into the city. There was one guy. One. I cannot imagine. There were 40 kids on my block. You mean to tell me that 10 of them were closet transsexuals?
Well, no, wait a minute. First of all, it's not 30% trans, it's 30% the alphabet, which is again an explosive number that again is promoted by the fad that we see. Same reason why we saw all the girls deciding to
it no longer matters, though. It no longer matters if somebody's even bi-curious. That's a new phrase that came out.
I'm saying.
Bi-curious. They're all under the same friggin' banner now.
I understand. And that's what I'm talking about, because it's the same thing that we saw with the fad with Twiggy in the 1970s, where we had this outbreak of women trying, young girls, and to a lesser extent today, but still does happen, that they're anorexic. Why? Because of the fad at the time was to be hyper skinny in the 70s. That's the model Twiggy. I know a lot of kids today don't know
Twiggy and Barbie.
Yeah. And so it's that hyper focus on that in the media, saying this is what you want to be. This is the ideal you're supposed to attain. And you're going to do this so that you will be loved and find friends and you'll find a partner, and you'll never get any of these things. It's just a sales pitch. And in 10 years, these kids will figure it out, but many of their lives will be ruined when they figure out, I don't need any of the sales pitch. Isn't what's going to make me attractive to someone. It isn't going to be what's part of my relationship, but it's going to be too late. You know, many of the women.
Listen, I fully understand kids doing the stupidest shit imaginable. All right. I got a dozen friends that got tattoos when they were like 15 years old that they can't even tell you where they got it from, when they got it, what it was supposed to mean, or anything else, because it was a stupid thing they did that they can't justify. They can't even remember. All right. A tattoo. All right. But that was something stupid they did on their own. Their parents probably smacked the living crap out of them as soon as their parents saw it when they got home, right? We all dated somebody at some point in our lives that our parents didn't approve of, and I guarantee we all got read the riot act at one point or another. We all had a friend or two that our parents didn't like, and we all got the same speech. These people will only bring you down. You got to find people that'll bring you up. What the hell happened? I understand kids are always going to make bad decisions. They're always going to do very stupid things. What the hell happened to parents that they, instead of correcting behavior, reinforce it? And they say, okay, the more ridiculous and life-altering and harmful your decision is going to be, the more we are going to support it. Is the credibility to be relevant on the left that important that you're willing to sell your children's lives away?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know that most of them will abort them the day before they're born. But once the kid is there, do you really have that little value and esteem put in your own child's life that you're willing to watch them self-destruct so that you can have a little bit of street cred at your next cocktail party?
Yes, and let me show you what I mean. Let me show you. Because what I'm about to put on the screen, this is from the University of, hang on one second.
And she's thankful. 5,600.
Give me 1 second. I just got to knock out the sound here. So let me prep this. What you see on the screen right now is from the University of Chicago. This is real. It's not staged. This is a real woman who gets assaulted. And the most important thing I want you to see on this screen, do you see where my pointer is? That young kid right there, right this moment, he's what, 15 feet away from this girl?
Yeah.
I want you to keep in mind how close he is to her in relation to her throughout the entire video. We're talking about less than a minute of time. I want you to watch this.
Full frame that.
Huh?
Full frame that.
There you go. So this is a young woman. This is a young man. It's not about their gender, but I want you to see. Watch what happens. Here's our assailant. This is a guy who's going to try and take her cell phone. The young man sees this. She was just walking down. He walked up, He's watching. He's looking dead at it. The guy, in case you're wondering, is trying to take the cell phone from this girl. By the way, he's armed. The guy in the hoodie has a handgun. What you're seeing her do right now, and what this guy, the assailant, why is his hand out like that? This girl has just taken the gun and she has possession of his illegal firearm. And she's in the process of taking the magazine out of the gun. This guy's still watching. He's 20 feet away at the most. Let's go on. She has disarmed him. She's gotten separation. Still has her phone. Facing this guy down. He's still watching. She now calls to him, knowing that he's been there this whole time. She has seen him. She is calling for his help. She is asking for the only person in the area to come and help her with this assailant who had a firearm that she has just disabled. Oh, where is it? Do they show it? Do they show it? I think it's in here. It's not very long. This is less than a minute. So there's the magazine she took away from him. Okay. Where is it? Oh, come on. Do they have it? Oh, here it is. I want you to see this. Now, this is the end of what we were just watching. The other guy ran away. So there was a second guy. He already ran away. She's calling for help. And here's boy genius. He stopped. He looks at his cell phone because he's been watching this, listening to his cell phone the whole time. Picks up his cell phone. No, very casual. Very casual. Gets up and runs away. Gets up and runs away. If this girl didn't disable this firearm, if she did not protect herself, this kid would have watched her be killed before his eyes. Yeah. He's not toxic. He's exactly what they want in these generations of kids. This kid with the cell phone who is watching this whole thing, the soy boy that he is, this is what they want future generations to be. Useless, defenseless, horrible.
Well, he's a pussy, number one. Number one, he's a pussy. Yeah. Whoever that guy is, I hope you watch this show. You are a pussy. You're not a man. You're a pussy. Turn in your man card. Go get some laser therapy to remove any facial hair that you have because you don't earn it. You don't deserve it. And just to let you know, when you see that girl again, you should say thank you, because more than likely after that piece of shit was trying to take her phone with the loaded gun in his hand, he was probably going to take yours too.
Yeah.
But you probably would have handed it over to him a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine the kinds of things. We already have women who are being sexually assaulted on subways because of kids like this guy going to University of Chicago. And the reason why that's happening is because they're willing to just stand there. And it's not even like, oh, I'm recording it because news and I want to get this guy's face so he can be. No, he didn't care. It was just some entertainment while he listened to whatever music or whatever he was listening to on his cell phone. He was just watching the show. Didn't care that a woman was being assaulted. A human being was being assaulted in front of his face, and he had every opportunity to help out and to safely help out. And all he needed to do at one point was just stand up and make it acknowledge that I know what's going on. Just stand up. Don't run away. Just stand up when the girl turned around and said, I need help. Just acknowledge that you're there. The guy would have ran away. It was 2-1 at that point. He would have ran away.
And if anybody
insulting.
Interested. The magazine that she removed from the Glen was Elite Tactical Systems Glock Pattern 19-round magazine for the Glock 19, just like this one.
Mm.
So if anyone is curious as to the gun, I'm not even going to say it was probably a Glock. I'm going to probably tell you that it probably wasn't the Glock. It was probably something that this magazine didn't fit into, and that's how she was able to get it out of there so easily. Because criminals are friggin' stupid.
Almost always. Almost
Right.
always. And
Criminal,
he figured, looks scary. She'll just do whatever I say.
Yeah. I actually have more regard for the criminal than I do the kid on the floor.
Because the kid on the floor, I have zero respect for him. He is scum of the earth.
No, just understand where I'm coming from. Understand where I'm coming from. You get them phone calls. Oh, we're from Microsoft Security, and we're this, or we're from Social Security, and we're that, and they're always trying to get into your bank account, right?
Yep.
Those are the absolute scummiest of all kinds of thieves, because they don't put it on the line. At least the guy who comes up to you in the street with a knife in his hand or a gun in his hand, at least he's putting some skin in the game, because he doesn't know what he's going to be confronted with once he brandishes that weapon. He could very easily find himself being on the losing end of a knife fight or losing end of a gunfight, but at least he's putting it out there. He's putting it out there. He's taking a certain amount of risk. He's in public doing it. He's where bad things can happen to him. So there's a certain amount of risk involved. The jerk off sitting on the floor after she had disarmed the other guy and is just saying, hey, can you maybe come over here and help me with this guy? There's no risk involved now with the guy on the floor. And for him to pick up his stuff and run away, he just didn't want to have nothing to risk. Oh, no, I am not getting involved with that. But then again, maybe he also watched the news from New York City and realizes that if you restrain a criminal, you could go to jail for life.
Yeah.
He is the consequence of this indoctrination. Not only because he has been neutered, not only because he has zero empathy, but he is the future that they are trying to make everyone into. He's a drone. He is a scum of the earth drone. And I say that because of his actions. His actions show him to be a scum of the earth drone. And I hope to God that he never gets the chance to procreate. That's just my view on that. I think it's.
Or worse, he could wind up going to a sperm bank and donating, and then whoever the unlucky recipient has
that would be procreation. I don't want him. I do not want his genetic profile to continue any further.
But sadly, it will.
Hopefully not. I can't imagine any woman, any man, any he, she, it, they, them, whatever you want to call yourself. I cannot find any breathing being finding him attractive, given this is the sum of his character.
That's why I said he could wind up donating in the sperm bank, and then the recipient of it has absolutely no idea the lack of quality she's getting in her sample.
I would pray that never happens again. His genetic line should cease. But that's one of the things that pissed me off today. I saw this. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. This is what we are. This is the indoctrination. This is the end of the line. This is their end product. This is what Harvard and Columbia University and all these colleges, this is what they want you to become. All of this, the protests, all of these lessons, these 108 people who are arrested alongside Ilhan Omar's daughter, what are they? They are that one kid. That's what They are the end result. Useless, defenseless, unthinking, and very, very, very entitled and egotistical about the fact that they are without empathy, they are without critical thinking, they are glorified drones. They're absolutely haughty about being drones. It's incredible. You can see why I got pissed off when I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, look. Let's get another another situation to get us pissed off. 6 people murdered in Australia by a guy with a knife.
Yeah.
Right. The last woman who was murdered, 29-year-old woman,
baby,
carrying her 9-month-old baby, had to throw her baby to 2 men who were standing there, onlookers, while she's getting stabbed herself. The baby also got stabbed. But like, the men just catch the baby and stand there watching this beautiful 29-year-old woman just get stabbed to death. While they stood there and watched 5 other people getting stabbed to death, and they did nothing.
Yeah.
Finally, a woman police officer shows up at the scene and puts this guy down.
Yeah.
And then immediately goes to render aid. And she was heartbroken. The police officer was heartbroken that she had to kill the guy. Australia took the guns from the people. The people were defenseless. Here's another example of it doesn't matter what the tool is. When somebody's going to do something heinous, they will find a way. Just like the other guy I forgot which one of the other Netherlands or something like that a couple of years ago, who killed 27 some odd students with a knife in the school.
That was in China. Well, there's been several cases of it. The fact is, and actually,
it's in one of the Icelandic countries. I forgot which one it was.
Well, that's the case you're pointing to, but it's actually very common around the world to have multiple stabbings and knife attacks, mass knifings, which is rampant in London and in the United Kingdom. It's rampant in China and certain parts of Southeast Asia. And in Australia, Australia never had a gun problem. They had one mass shooting before the mass shooting when they then decided to disarm everyone. In 10 years, they had 2 mass shootings. How many mass knifings did they have? The number of mass knife attacks in Australia have been consistent for the last 20 years. Their problem isn't guns. Their problem has always been damaged individuals, mentally damaged individuals, and criminals who go around stabbing people. That has always been their problem because they are criminals and mentally deranged. That's the problem, not the weapon. But go on. I'm sorry. I just know the data on that. I just know the data.
Yeah, but it's another perfect example of what happens in the society when your government takes the guns away from the people and tells you can't defend yourself. They're telling you that they don't trust you. They do not trust you. And if they don't trust you, it's not because they think you're going to hurt them. It's because they think that you might have the ability to do something different, like vote for other people. If they don't trust you, because they don't like you, they want to just control you. They do not care if you get your throat cut in the street. They don't care if somebody stabs you to death, runs you over with a car, sets you on fire, throws you out of a building, stuffs you in a trash compactor, drowns you. They don't care. They don't care what happens to you. The only thing they want to do is control you. And if you having the ability to defend yourself makes you less likely to depend on them. And they can't have that. You need to depend on them for everything. And if you don't, well, then we have to take those tools away from you. You must be dependent upon us, even if it means you have to die. You think Australia is going to rethink their position on that? You know, do you think they might even say, hey, maybe we should have armed security at the mall? Oh, crikeys, mate, no, that's another gun that someone could have access to. So, all right, so just let everybody continue stabbing each other. It'll be fine. They have, what are the knife collection bins in England all over the place?
In London in particular, yes.
Right. And what happens in the knife collection bins? They get broken into, or the whole bin gets stolen.
Yes, that does happen. Yeah.
And in Canada, they passed all those sweeping gun laws up in Canada. It's supposedly supposed to reduce crime and it's supposed to reduce gun crime. Before it just came out, gun crime in Canada is up 101%.
Yeah, well, but they're going to hide this just because it's like here.
No, they're blaming the U.S.
Of course they are. But they're going to blame the U.S. and they're going to hide the numbers because if you actually look at it, it's always been up. It's like here in the United States, when you look at state after state, it's New York State as an example, but across the country, gun violence, they've instituted more laws in the last 4 years. And if you look at it, since 2020, yes, gun crime is down across America. That's only because if you compare it to 2013 until 2019, each year as an individual or as a summary, 2024 and 2023 are higher. We're down from the peak, but we're above the norm. Gun crime is up because criminals are taking advantage of the fact that there are fewer police and anyone to support them. And that means they're exporting their crimes into other countries, like in Canada, where there is an overflow of illegal aliens, which is a significant factor in this. And they're going into Canada because Canada also is trying to disarm its people and reduce its police force. And what happens when you see these two things mix, especially with a group of foreigners who do not want to be in your country, to be part of your country? They're there to take advantage of your country. Crime goes up every single time. It's a fact.
It does. Okay. And it's been proven over and over and over again. And everybody wants to focus on gun violence rather than violence and violent crime. Okay. And they pass these gun control laws. And the quote unquote gun violence may go down, but every other area of violent crime goes up, and it goes up significantly up more than it was prior to the gun control actions.
I don't even think, and in looking at the data, you don't even see the gun violence go down. The only time you see gun violence go down is normally when you have an increase in the number of law enforcement in that nation, or when there is a crackdown in, or actually enforcement of the law as it exists against the criminals. In other words, no revolving doors, no bail reform or criminal justice reducing the crime rates. When you actually put the criminals away according to the law, based on the law, then you see a reduction. As long as you don't do that, the number will increase. And it doesn't matter how many laws you pass. Doesn't matter what laws you pass. Doesn't matter if you create new categories. That's I was just watching before the show. I was watching Larry Sharp. Kathy Hochul just came out and made gang fights, gang shootouts. That's an hate crime. Why? So that she can hide the number of the fact that gang violence is on the rise. So to hide gang violence, it's now going to be classified under hate crime. So now they can say hate crime is up without having to say that gang violence is up. And why is gang violence up? Because their police law enforcement is down.
Yep.
That's why, because gun control didn't fix the problem, and defunding the police didn't fix the problem. The bail reform didn't fix it. Criminal justice didn't fix it. All the things we were promised that would absolutely fix this didn't. In fact, they made it worse. So rather than deal with the failure that she has, she changed the rules. She changed the category that the stat's going to be in. And instead of being gang violence, it's now under hate crime. So she can hide that and say, hate crime is up. It must be the MAGA. No, it's gang violence. You just changed the number and hope that no one remembers.
Anaheim has a solution.
Anaheim,
California. This is how they're going to do it.
Oh yeah, with Tesla cars whose batteries. What happens when the battery goes out?
Well, here's their claims. Okay. The Tesla Model Y, which is what they're using, I believe it's Model Y. Tesla Model Y is supposed to get an average range of 300 miles per charge. The average number of miles driven while an officer is on patrol for 12 and a half hours is 100 miles. So in theory, these vehicles should be able to last 2 to 3 shifts.
No. You know why not? I got one easy.
Oh, I'm getting ready to get into that.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Okay? Because as you know, this is my job.
True.
This is my profession.
True. You are better at this than me. Got that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the consumer gets 300 miles to the gallon or 300 miles to the charge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With a supercharger, a Model Y can be recharged in 90 minutes. That is a 250 kilowatt charger or a class 3 charger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The typical class 2 charger, it takes 8 to 10 hours to recharge a Tesla from 5% battery capacity up to 80%. Not even 100%, 80%. Okay. That being said, the thing that every article that I read on this failed to look at was the additional electric consumption that these vehicles are going to have when they upfit them.
Oh,
they don't take into account the power that the lights are going to draw. They don't take into account the power the radios are going to draw. They don't take into account the power that the radar is going to draw. They don't take into account the amount that the camera system in these vehicles is going to draw. The gun lock mechanisms, which are electronic.
Repair. Here's my thing. They don't take into account that if the vehicle is damaged, it costs more than a brand new car to repair it, because any damage will that anything more, even a fender bender, will affect the battery. And that means the entire undercarriage has to be removed. The entire battery system has to be taken out and put back
Replaced.
if it is cracked at all. Normally, it costs on average $23,000 per repair on these electric vehicles.
Now, they also don't take into account on this the added weight that these vehicles carry around. Okay. Which comes close to double, if not tripling, the weight of the vehicle from stock to its upfitted weight. By the time they add the passenger compartment cage, okay, or the transportation cage for detainees, the the added front bumper, all the electronics and equipment that is carried, the evidence storage lockers, which have to be lockable. And in some jurisdictions, the armor that is put in the doors. Okay.
Yeah, that's quick.
So you are at minimum doubling the weight of the vehicle, if not tripling it. So they are going to be lucky to get 100 miles out of one of these vehicles per charge.
Hey, what about the collateral road damage that it's doing? There are so many obvious areas that if they wanted to be honest, they would, I'm sure they investigated. They took those numbers out because if you look at it, just like as if you actually look at are electric vehicles carbon neutral, carbon negative, or carbon positive? In other words, do you create more pollution or reduce pollution by having an electric vehicle? There has yet to be made a single electric vehicle that is carbon positive, that it carbon neutral, that removes more carbon or reduces the amount of carbon that would be made by its existence. They are all net contributors to greenhouse gases in excess of 1 or 2 or 3 normal cars. Not one has ever been made that reduces the carbon in the world if you actually look at the numbers.
Okay. If they put in the superchargers for their fleet of 84 vehicles, I think is what I found out, they would need at minimum, in order to keep them continuously charged, at minimum, they would need 6 of those superchargers. 6 of those superchargers are 250 kilowatts each.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you are looking at 250,000 watts per charger. So you're looking at 1.5 million watts of power that's going to be needed just to keep those vehicles operating.
Which doesn't make sense. Again, if you're being honest and doing an honest review of the energy, the cost of the energy, the output of pollution per watt, every electric vehicle creates more pollution than gas-powered vehicles every single time. There hasn't been an electric vehicle made yet that is beneficial to the environment. If you look at it from digging up all the heavy earth metals all the way through, none of them are beneficial. Same thing with the windmills. None of them are beneficial. No. They will never recapture the amount of carbon and greenhouse gases necessary to create it, to bring it back. Never.
Now, the other thing that we still didn't account for either is the increased speed that these vehicles are going to be operating at. At 300 miles per charge that these get is based on highway and city travel. It's not based on pursuit speeds or response speeds. Right. They're going to be driving at higher than average speeds.
Using a lot more energy. Exactly.
And if I'm not mistaken, the faster you go, it's a logarithmic equation. So you actually use a lot more energy traveling at higher speeds.
Well, yeah, you have a lot more mass that you have to move.
Right.
And plus, unlike cars,
they don't do gradual accelerations either.
No.
They use rapid accelerations, which uses even more power. Okay. Yeah. They are going to be lucky if they can get through a complete shift before they have to recharge those vehicles.
And that's not even, and we still have left out one other massive component: weather, humidity.
Yeah, we haven't talked about weather. And the other thing, we haven't talked about battery deterioration.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That 300 miles is on a brand new set of batteries. Okay, those batteries degrade over time. Average life expectancy on those is, I think Tesla is rating them to maintain 80% charging for 10 years.
Which means real world somewhere closer to 6.
Right.
Well, also keep in mind that these cars are designed for domestic use.
Yes.
These cars are designed for families, for individuals,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
not designed
the
for
Model Y is supposedly pursuit capable.
Pursuit capable. Okay.
How'd they actually put it?
All right. The General Lee was capable of jumping over a couple of rivers. Didn't mean it was capable of landing safely on the other side. All right.
Yeah.
Capability is one thing. These things, as someone who worked in law enforcement, a police vehicle is like a cab. It doesn't shut off. The only time a police vehicle shuts off is when it arrives at the scene or when it's going in for an oil change.
No, when it's at the scene, it's still on.
Well, depending upon what situation. So like detectives will shut their cars off. RMPs will keep running because they have the computer up, they have the air conditioning on, they got a canine in the back of it, stuff like that. At the end of the shift, when that car goes back to the precinct and another group of guys come get out and go inside of it, it's the same damn car. They fill it up with gas and they keep going. That thing keeps running and running and running and running. For you to do that with an electric car, you're going to have to constantly run it, recharge, run it, recharge, run it, recharge in a cycle that far exceeds what the demand would have been had that car being used by a family. A family is not driving the car 22 out of every 24 hours.
Yeah, and
They're
that's the other
3
thing.
or 4 hours.
Okay. This battery life of 10 years that Tesla forecast is based upon normal driving conditions.
Right.
Okay.
Like you see these.
Every time batteries charge, that depletes the battery.
Right. And if you don't bring them all the way down and then charge them all the way back up, that partial charge stuff is also something that hurts the batteries.
That's only with NiCads, not with lithium ion.
No. Well, I don't know. I haven't been around long enough to prove what the reliability of them is.
Yeah, they have. They've been in phones for decades.
Yeah, but they also explode. Let's not forget about that too. Is when those things.
No, they do.
When they explode, there's no putting them out.
No, there's not.
No,
you got to let them burn. You got to let them burn. You can send 10 fire trucks over there. The only thing they're going to do is maybe
keep everything else.
Cordon off.
They're going to keep fire from spreading. That's all they're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
You're not stopping one of them things from going.
No, there's so many problems. Again, we're not supposed to think about that. We're supposed to just accept they said it, so no more thought needs to go into it. It must be true, and we shouldn't critically question or critically think about it. Just accept it. No, that is wrong.
All I know is if you would have in the 90s or the early 2000s, or even going back as far as I can remember as a kid, if you went to the Chevy dealer and said you wanted a Caprice, you'd buy a Caprice. And it was just a standard Caprice or whatever the case. But then they had the police package.
Yeah.
And you can go back to the to the Blues Brothers. It's got cop suspension, cop tires, cop engine, everything in the police package, or Ford would call it the Interceptor package.
Yeah.
Was made for heavy duty use. It was made because that was a different suspension, different shocks, different springs, larger gas tank capacities. A lot of times they would eliminate the towing so they could put larger gas tanks in them. They would, you would have aluminum heads versus cast iron heads. You'd have larger radiators.
They have larger alternators.
Right.
A lot of them will have secondary battery systems. They will have a charge start battery, and then they will have a secondary battery, power all the electronics.
Accessory battery. And then, and if you look at the wiring harness, you would find wires in the wiring harness you wouldn't get in the standard car.
Yep.
That was meant to just be plug and play for wigwags, you know, for different spotlights and all the rest of the stuff. I owned the car I owned a Crown Vic that was owned by the superintendent of the Pennsylvania State Police. That thing, no car could keep up with that thing. It was a monster. And I had a Impala Super Sport too. The Super Sport was not as fast as that Crown Vic, and that was a Corvette with 4 doors. But these cars, GM made a living. Dodge made livings just selling fleet vehicles. And then half of the times when you would see a police car go up for auction, where did it wind up going? You'd see it get painted yellow, have a medallion slapped on the hood. Everything would go another 2 million miles. Yeah. You're not going to have that with these electric cars.
No, everyone, and that's why everyone, after watching the Blues Brothers, wanted a Crown Vic, and sales went up. And you felt bad when that car died and everyone looked at it and no one said, no, it couldn't do. Everyone knew, well, it couldn't, fly through the air, but probably do everything else that they did in the movie. It's like, it's a Crown Vic. These things just keep going.
To be fair, the Bluesmobile was a 1974 Dodge Monaco.
Was it?
Yeah. That was it was a Dodge Monaco with a 440 under the hood and a 6-pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big car guy. I'm just not.
Elwood traded it for a mic. Well, Elwood traded the Cadillac for a microphone.
Yes.
And
which was not the problem. That was okay.
Yeah, but he says you pick up your brother getting out of hell in a cop car.
Yeah. He was they were only upset until he said he traded it for a microphone. Then it was okay.
All you had to do was just get the cigarette lighter fixed.
Yeah. He throws it out the window. Needs a new lighter.
Get the lighter fixed.
That's it.
That's one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah. I love that movie. They can't make movies like that anymore. Again. And who's in the movie? Princess Leia. She was in there. I forget, Carrie Fisher. She was in love interest because she looked like a woman. She was attractive and interesting, and people liked her. And she didn't look like Frankenstein. I'm telling you, there's something about that. But let me move forward. And by the way, a lot of people may wonder, notice all the things that the government is pushing onto us that is unconstitutional throughout all these conversations, trying to limit free speech, trying to control the speech that you are having, using your money poorly, trying to abuse you as an individual because you have rights. It's amazing what we're seeing here. And that kind of reminds me of something that I wanted to bring up as well for today. And I know you guys probably saw this earlier. And that was, I know people will go, HRES 1160, HR 8036, 34. What is that? What? I don't know what those things are. That's because the news media doesn't tell you what this is. This is the $95 billion of your taxes that the Congress, the establishment in Congress, that the Biden administration want to spend on Ukraine, on Hamas, and Israel. And this was voted for. Now, it's the really interesting thing about this is the people who voted against it happened to be the Freedom Caucus and happened to be, it was the Freedom Caucus and, believe it or not, the Progressive Caucus. They're the only ones who voted against this. But everyone else voted for this to take your money. And in particular, the amount is, and I'll show you that too. Bear with, because this is worth looking at. $26 billion. $26 billion. This is enough money to end homelessness in America. The housing crisis, gone. That costs conservatively $13 billion. According to most leftists, they rounded up to 20 billion. So somewhere between 13 to 20 billion would remove the housing crisis in America completely. Pays off every single foreclosure, every mortgage, every back due rent. We're talking about maximum $20 billion. This is 26. We could end homelessness with this money. Instead, we're giving it, the bulk of it, over $9 billion is going to Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving about half of this money to Hamas, a city, a group of terrorists, which one, it's illegal to give terrorists money. That's already legal by the United States. Two, they killed Americans on October 7th. They have American hostages right this second, unless they happen to be part of the 40 hostages that were killed by Hamas because they were being tortured and sexually abused. And somehow the Biden administration and the establishment think they can slip this past the American people and just spend our money that we don't have. This is inflationary. This is creating inflation. We don't have this money. So they can give it to a terrorist organization, just like they did for Hezbollah, who attacked us, like they did for the Houthis under the Biden administration, who attacked us. They're attacking ships in the Red Sea. Everyone who's been injured or died in the Red Sea, that's because of the Biden administration. That's because of the humanitarian aid. We are literally, there is a war going on, and we are funding both sides of the war. And the part that's really upsetting about that is, and one of those sides killed and have our people.
Yeah.
Does this make sense to anyone? And the way they're hiding this is by saying, you don't know what HR 1160 is. You don't know what HR 8034 is. This is how they hide it from you.
Well, I got news for you, Vass. A third of the country doesn't give a shit. Even if they spelled it out and explained what all of it was for, a third of the country doesn't give a shit. And 90% of our elected representatives,
actually more than a third.
I'm trying to be generous to the people.
Okay.
But I will tell you that 90% of our elected representatives, they also don't give a shit about what we think.
Right. They don't.
Well, I know that's true because
they're going to do what they want to do when they want to do it, and the hell with the American people, because they're never going to get voted out of office, and they're never going to pay a price. They don't care. They don't care.
Okay. I keep telling and harping on people. Okay. If you want to start changing this country, the first thing that you must do is educate yourself. Okay. Know what the Constitution says. Know how we got to where we are at today. Okay. Book that I am currently listening to on Audible, and no, we aren't getting a cut from Audible for this, is Politically Incorrect Guide to the Constitution. Originally, I thought this was going to be a left-wing spin on the Constitution, and it's not. It actually does a really good job in showing how we have gone from being a law that, or being a country that looked at the Constitution, to being a country that looks at how the courts interpret the Constitution. And that's not the way that we are supposed to be. We are a country that was built on the foundation of the Constitution, which was a pact by the state to form this country, this federation. Okay, each of the states are sovereign, and the Constitution gives them that sovereignty. And we have to start understanding this. Many of the Supreme Courts have actually worked contrary to the Constitution to expand nationalist power and to increase the power of the government and to usurp power away from the people and the states.
Yeah, and that's a big problem because look at all the ways that we are seeing this be used against us to try
exactly.
It's taking away individual choice. It's taking away individual freedom. It is mandating so many aspects of our individual lives. It is putting our kids in danger on multiple different levels. It is endangering the United States in terms of national security around the world, because we know for a fact Hamas, looking at what just happened with Iran and Israel, and I know everyone was saying, "Oh my God, it's going to be World War III. It's going to be World War III." And just last week, what did I say on this channel? It's not World War III. It's never. This is not World War III. This is 3 regional wars. They're doing this because we have weak leadership that doesn't pay attention to the Constitution.
And they are keeping it as regional wars in order not to draw in enough people to actually cause this to go against them. Okay. By fighting a regional war, they are more likely to win.
Yeah. And I want to show you something, guys. You're going to love this. This is how really messed up this is, because we know that Iran where is it? Oh God, come on. What I want to show you is a picture. Hang on 1 second. We all know that Iran backed down. Israel attacked back because they had to, because this was about showmanship. This was Iran attacked Israel saying, "We're the big bad, we're the new boss, we can take on Israel and the United States, and America will back down." And Israel
did back down.
Yeah, and America did back down. Biden did back down, but
tried to get Israel back down.
Right. And Israel was like, "You're out of your mind, forget you." So here's the thing. The news media, working in conjunction, this is part of the fortification of the 2024 election. This from CBS News. This is a photo from CBS News earlier today, and I think you can see on the screen as it shows that I got it 24 minutes after CBS News Channel 5 published this on YouTube. The title is Tensions between Israel and Iran rise as airstrikes continue. That was today. That was this afternoon that they published this article. In the actual video, in the commentary and the reporting and their expert speaker, Iran is stepping down. Tensions are down. Iran is not reacting to Israel. They're lying to your face. They're gaslighting you, which is why I had to take this is a minute and a half. At 1 minute and 5 seconds throughout the entire thing, they are telling you how the tension isn't increasing, that it is backing down, that we are going back to the post-October 7th levels of tension in the Middle East, and Iran will not escalate because Israel has more balls than Joe Biden at this moment, and they're trying to fearmonger and hype people so that they vote. Oh, well, Joe Biden's going to protect me. Joe Biden promised to protect me. We need to have Joe Biden.
And he showed the exact opposite in every situation.
Yeah, he has. But yet the media is lying to the public. It is right here. And I can, I'm showing you the actual image. It is because they want to gaslight people. They are trying to literally lie to your face to control you, because if you're afraid, you will do what you are told if they promise you safety.
Well, and earlier we were talking about indoctrination, and that is actually what's been being done, not just for the last few years, but has been being done for decades. And here is one other area that they've indoctrinated us. Okay. Constitutional law. What do you think the primary thing that they teach in constitutional law is?
How to subvert the Constitution.
You would think that it would be the Constitution, right?
You would think it would be the Constitution. I'm imagining it's the interpretation, how to interpret.
You would think that it would be the Constitution. You would think that it would be some of the background into what brought it the Constitution. You'd think it'd be about the ratification debates for the Constitution and this type of stuff, right?
Federalist Papers, things like that. Yeah.
It's not. Constitutional law primarily doesn't teach the Constitution very much at all. It primarily teaches the interpretations of the Constitution as set forth by the courts.
So the way they've changed the Constitution, not the Constitution, but the changes to the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So they're interpreting. They're saying this is how you interpret the Constitution, essentially. Like, forget about what it actually says.
Okay. And the thing is, the courts were never supposed to actually interpret the Constitution. The courts, no, they were not. If you actually read the Constitution and what the powers of the courts are, Article 3, they are not supposed to interpret the Constitution.
Well, I understand that they aren't. I also understand, and I'll give the Supreme Court this kind of leeway. There are questions in actualizing and enforcing the law that the wording of the law, whether you interpret it strict or not, are not clear. That's what they're there to clarify. Whether you're looking at a strict or not strict comparison to the law. The problem is the laws got more and more vague so that they could be more and more open to interpretation. And the courts never forced the Congress to make better laws. We're writing crap laws. If your law has to take 2,000 pages, 3 lawyers, and 5 days to be read, you wrote a crap law. That's just, you have a problem. If it takes 20 pages and a PhD, a law degree, to read your law, you've written a crap law. That's the problem, I think.
Okay. So I'm going to pop this up here real quick. So the Constitution lays out what the judiciary branch is supposed to be and what they are supposed to do. Okay. Judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Judges both of the Supreme and inferior court shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated time receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. In other words, once their pay is set, as long as they remain in office, their pay cannot go down. It can only go up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution and the laws of the United States, the treaties made and which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, public ministries, and councils or consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party to, and controversies between two or more states, between state and citizens of other state, and between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants under different states, and between the state and citizens thereof, and foreign states and citizens or subjects. Okay, nowhere in there does it say anything about interpreting the Constitution. Not one clause in there. Okay. Under Section 3, it defines what treason is.
Right.
But not one place. Okay. So now we go down to the 11th Amendment, which is a part of this too, because it did change some of the Article 3 provisions. Okay, let me find it here real quick. Okay, judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. In other words, the 11th Amendment was a protection for the states, and basically is what kind of makes it impossible to sue a state. Okay, right. But it doesn't mean that you can't sue representatives of the state.
Right. Okay? You can go after Kathy Hochul or right. Gavin Newsom as examples for their violations of human rights because of the mandates, but you can't go after New York or California for that same reason.
Right. Now, that being said, okay, like I said, nowhere in Article 3, which is the definition of what the judicial branch is there anything that says that the courts are to interpret the Constitution? No place in there. Okay, no place in there does it state that the courts have the final say as to the interpretation of the Constitution. Okay, in order to find out what the interpretation of the Constitution is, we must go back to the ratifying the debates in order to determine what the states believe the Constitution said and what the meanings of those provisions, what the provisions of the Constitution meant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is where we determine this. Now, the Supreme Court can, in a specific case, state that the federal government or a government exceeded its power, its constitutional authority, but it's not there to interpret the Constitution.
Gotcha.
Okay, that is for us to do. We are the people. We determine what the Constitution says. Okay, and in order to actually get to the true meaning of what the Constitution says, we must go back to the ratifying debates that each of the states had prior to formally ratifying the Constitution. That is how we determine what the original intent of the Constitution is.
That would be the ideal way to do it. But again, that requires that people have to do their homework. They have to know the Constitution. They have to read both history and law, and they have to stay on top of and hold accountable their politicians. Now, you would think that that's the minimum requirement to be a free citizen and to maintain your citizenship, to maintain your freedom, is to know these things. That is not the case. No. That is not what we see in America today. And look at the examples we have cited. We have trained, we have indoctrinated kids to the point that they will watch another fellow student, another young person, someone of the other gender, someone who's in distress and dismay, that they are within 20 feet, within 10 feet of, that they could help. And they would rather watch
their own government to exceed its authority in order to remove their own rights.
Yes, but I'm not surprised. We have trained kids to watch people being assaulted and watch it happen. And are we surprised that those very same kids who would sit and watch a woman being assaulted and run away when asked for help, are we surprised that that same kid doesn't know how to defend his own rights, the rights according to the Constitution, even knowing that he has rights according to the Constitution, not rights that he's told he should be worried about, but actual rights.
Rights that are protected by the Constitution.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what we need to also understand. The Constitution does not grant anybody any rights.
No,
the only thing the Constitution does is it protects the unalienable or inalienable rights that every individual has.
No, I get that, but I mean,
well,
I'm using.
I know you get that, Michael.
Right,
okay,
well,
and we all do get that
true.
that are on this panel. I am saying that so that other people get that. Too many people say our constitutional rights, and that is not right. That is not what
that's
it
why
is.
we are constitutionally protected rights.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, now before I go, because I have to go, I just got to alert on my computer that I have 4% battery life left. It seems that I neglected to plug it into the soundboard when I sat down here 2 hours ago. So my computer is about to drop dead on me. But I wanted to give a plug tonight. We've been getting a lot of hassle on Facebook, Instagram, any of the meta bullshit out there. Anytime we talk about guns or anything, gear, we keep getting blocks and bans and can't do this.
Oh yeah.
Do that. And you never see that happen to big companies.
No, you don't.
You don't ever see it happen to big companies. Smith & Wesson, Colt, SIG, they can put pictures of guns up all the live long day and they never get an account ban. I put up a picture of a gun that I'm going to review and they ban my account. Little mom and pop businesses, they put up a picture of a t-shirt that they sell, with the Second Amendment phrase or saying something, they get blocked. Well, one of the companies that I noticed getting blocked this week on Instagram is called Carry Girl Gear. The husband and wife operation, and they produce their own garments, Second Amendment related. They're constitutionally friendly, and they also sell some components like flashlights and holsters and other, goodies and stuff like that. And I sent them a message earlier that I was going to plug them on the show tonight. I didn't get a response yet because I guess they're busy putting packages the way they do. The husband and wife are chief cook and bottle washer. They do everything there. They're not a big company, but they do good stuff. They have really good products, really good prices. If you're interested in perusing some Second Amendment goodies and you want to go give a good company an opportunity to make a purchase and make a sale, give them a look. It's carrygirlgear.com. It's a female-centric company. Most of the products they have are for girls, but they do have a lot of stuff in the catalog for guys too. And just go check them out. Find them on Facebook and Instagram and the like. Give them a like. Give them a follow. Visit their website. Give them some business. One of the most important things about the Second Amendment, other than exercising it, is supporting the companies that provide the goods and services for those of us that do. And we need to do a much better job as a community in supporting the small companies just as quickly as we would support the big guys. Because without the little guys, there's a lot of missed opportunity and a lot of jobs missed. And most of these little companies are American-made products. So give them a look. Again, that's carrygirlgear.com. Tell them that the Range Report and Liberty First sent you along and say hello. And with that, I'm going to vacate for the time being because now I'm down to 2% on my computer. For those of you that sent them along, I appreciate the birthday wishes this week. Wish it was a better week, but it is what it is. Love you guys. Michael. Guys, have a great night. Thanks again for spirited conversation and spirited debate. Everybody in the audience this evening, thank you. Love you, Jan. Sorry we couldn't hook up this week. Hopefully soon. All right. Be safe. Shoot straight. I'm out of here.
Have a great weekend, Frank.
All right. Well, yeah, time flies.
It does. It does. Okay.
So much going on.
Well, that's the thing, okay? And we can't keep on top of everything. And that's why we have people. I can't stress this enough. You have to educate yourselves. not just as to what's going on, but you need to educate yourselves to understand exactly how our government has gone awry. Okay. And you can say all you want that I am anti-government, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. Okay. I am very pro-constitutional government. Very much for it. Okay. Because I do believe that if we have a fully constitutional government, then we will have a fully United States. Sure, we will have some of our controversies, but the Constitution will keep those controversies in check.
Well, yeah, but it's the way they label. They want to put labels, and even for people who don't fit the labels they have, they still want more labels. Oh, yeah. You don't fit the way that they've structured the establishment, and you're not in favor of anyone the establishment has propped up. Well, then you must be anti-government. Well, no, that's not even close to realistic. So it's part of their way of, again, silencing people, silencing the opposition, silencing voices they don't like. Oh, you're against the government. No, I'm asking for the government to be improved and to do what it was supposed to do and no more than what it was supposed to do.
No, what I'm asking for is I am asking for our government to operate within the bounds of the powers set forth under the Constitution of the United States.
Right. Limitations of the government and no more than what it's supposed to do. It's reduction, limitation, holding them accountable. And they claim, well, that's anti-government. No, it's not. That's just a label to try and get people to be scared away, to not hear. And that's the thing, folks. Never be afraid to have the conversation. Just because someone will go, oh, well, I'm not sure. We're in a free country. And it's only free as long as you continue to have the conversations. Otherwise, you suddenly become Canada. What's that?
Here's the other thing. The ratifiers and the framers of the Constitution built in this tremendous thing into the Constitution, where if we don't like a provision of the Constitution, we have the ability to change it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make amendments.
It doesn't mean we ignore what the Constitution says. It means that if we don't agree with what the Constitution says, we take steps to change it.
Constitutional Convention allowing us to create or amend or remove any constitution, any amendment, any part of the Constitution. Yeah, we have the right. We have the ability.
Okay. So it doesn't mean that you interpret it the way you want to. It doesn't mean that you strip its authority. It doesn't mean that you take things out of context in the Constitution in order to twist it to mean what you want it to mean. No, you don't have to do that. If you want it to say something different, go through the process to change it. And if the people and the states agree to change it, then it will be changed. But until you go through that process, the Constitution remains the law of the land, period.
I wish they would get that about immigration. It's real simple. You don't like it? You want sanctuary? Okay, write the law, pass the law. It's that simple. Oh, but you don't think it'll pass. That doesn't mean ignore the law. Doesn't mean change the rules, change the reading of the Constitution, make it up as you go. No, that's not constitutional. That's not the law. There's a reason why we've got the laws, why we have the Constitution. Follow it. We wouldn't be in this bad of a situation and with so many problems, which includes the death of individuals like Laken Riley and so many others, is because you're making it up as you go. And that's a problem. You can't run a country that way. You cannot.
No, you can't. You can't. Okay. And every part of our Constitution has ran amok. Okay. Every branch are running afoul of the Constitution.
Yeah. It's incredible. But this is why
we, the people, start demanding that our government start adhering to the Constitution, it's going to continue and it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, that's why we speak all the time. That's why we come out and we go through all these different stories that the media doesn't necessarily highlight, or that they highlight in a very specific way, kind of like with CBS. Aren't you afraid? Be afraid. Go and listen to your politicians. If you actually listen to the 1.5-minute summary, and that's another thing. CBS took the entire conflict between Israel and Iran that's going on right now, the international politics that countries around the world are trying to figure out. They summed it down to 1 minute and 43 seconds, and then told everyone with the title, fear-mongered everyone out of the story. They literally wrote the story is exactly the opposite of their title.
Yeah.
And that's not considered misinformation, and that's promoted by YouTube and Google. But me calling them out and going, they just lied to your face, because that's what it is. It's a lie to your face. I'm the bad guy. Can you imagine that? It's crazy. This is why we have... Go ahead.
We are over 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, which is about typical for us. So we are going to go ahead and start signing off. Folks, educate yourself. I can't stress it enough. Educate yourself. Okay, not only about what's going on in the world, but as to the authority our government is supposed to be restrained to. Okay, and until we start grouping ourselves together and start becoming we the people through organizations like the Liberty First Foundation, 10th Amendment Center, and others, we will not see our government step back. We will continue to see our government take more and more authority away from us and divest it into them. Okay? We are the only ones that can change it. But we can't do it through a singular voice. We must do it through a united front. That's why we are the United States, not the individual states. That's why we are supposed to be a united people. Okay? Get involved. Join an organization that is going to start restoring this country. Okay, absolutely. We are here every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Folks, invite your friends. Okay, like, share, comment. Help us spread the word. Help us get the word out. I've noticed our audience has been growing, and I appreciate you guys helping us get the word out there. The more we get the word out, the more we can start affecting change. Okay, it's only when we become educated ourselves that we can actually start making an impact. Thank you, everybody. We will see you again next week.